What's up, everybody? Welcome to another entry on my top 50 favorite games of all time. Tonight we're counting down from 30 to 21. To me, it feels like this is going by really fast. For some reason, I imagined it would take a lot longer to get here, but nonetheless, here we are. And at number 30, we're going with the Uncharted series. I really don't think it's wise to pick a single favorite game. To me, each entry represented a place and time and technology. Yeah, we might not enjoy one today as much as we did when it came out, but boy, was it nice that first time playing Uncharted. Then it got followed up with Uncharted 2, most people's favorite entry in the series, and I can see why. However, I can't recall those most amazing feelings I normally get with games that make a big impact. So to me, I'm sure it was great, but it's another entry in this great series. I'd have to say that Uncharted 4 is the pinnacle to me, from both storytelling and gameplay. It's less objective, less grounded, but more video gamey, more fun as games should be, in my humble opinion. The standalone DLC is also second to none. I enjoyed the Lost Legacy as much as any of the previous games in the franchise, and I look forward to Uncharted 5 or Lost Legacy 2 or whatever other Uncharted Sony and hopefully Naughty Dog decides to bring our way. Now, number 29, Remnant from the Ashes, got me by surprise. Only in such a way that I enjoyed it way more than I expected, or that even my friends did. It's no secret by now that I'm a fan of third-person shooters, but this time, in this game, the weapons were mostly unconventional when you got the good ones. I also love myself some power-ups and buffing my guns with some elemental powers. Boss fights are the pinnacle in all video games worth their salt, and so Remnant hits all the right notes with me. And yeah, let's not forget the ability to play online, co-op with strangers and friends, which you all know by now, also makes games more enjoyable to play. Here is yet another game that I beat a few times, sometimes in my world, sometimes helping people out in their worlds, but every time having a great old time. Number 28, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I did play the original RE4 this year twice on my Switch, but it was RE4 Remake, which I played on my Steam Deck, that really spoke to me. I enjoyed the Resident Evil games. I'm not a super fan as all my friends are, and Resident Evil is pretty much the only quote-unquote horror franchise I even try to play from time to time. RE4 Remake, however, brings more to the table than what I'd normally expect from these games. Again, it's a third-person shooter with a great arsenal that keeps building upon itself and allowing the player to actually make use of the weapons and have fun shooting monsters along the way, as opposed to having to run through everything, not use my sawed-off shotgun, and never hear the sounds of bullets smashing brains and balls through the levels. Come on now, we can suplex our enemies in this game, as we can also roundhouse kick them for more effectiveness than some magnum bullets depending on the scenario. I truly enjoy my time with RE4R, which I also beat twice back to back, and then even mess around in the Mercenaries mode, which is something I rarely do in games. I'll be checking out the new release DLC soon enough, and down the road I'll do a new run on my PS5 with my securely acquired handgun, just to make sure I won't have any major trouble along the way. That's just how I enjoy my Resident Evil playthroughs. Firepower and lots of it. For number 27, Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't fully understand how it ended up all the way up here, but here it is. An honest entry, I guess, but one that based on my overall enjoyment of the game, I would have thought it would have ended much lower on my list. I guess there are that many cool games available nowadays that one of the best, if not the best looking game out of them all, with awesome gameplay mechanics in a futuristic dystopian destroyed world and with a third-person perspective, while geared up with a bow and several traps, fighting mechanized dinosaurs, ended up here all the way up almost halfway through my list. Whether the number indicates it or not, I truly loved my time with Horizon Zero Dawn. I like the story, but most of all, the gameplay is fantastic. Bow and arrows that have various uses depending on what you are fighting, where you are fighting, and what effect you want to cause. Not to mention being able to take down the dino weapons and use it against them. The Thunderjaw and the Stormbirds are the highlights, but many of the other tiger-like and smaller beasts also make for a fun and challenging, awesome game to play. Now, since we're talking about great looking games, right now is as great of a time as ever to bring up number 26, Ghost of Tsushima. Yet another gorgeous single-player story-driven adventure in a third-person perspective with varied gameplay and combat. Jin Sakai, the fallen samurai that did whatever needed to be done in order to get the results he desired. He didn't pick this fight, but he sure put an end to it. From the interesting mini-games cutting bamboo, to mooning the player in serene hot baths, to the approach to strongholds in the format of killing sequences, all the way to the pinnacle of gameplay in the form of duels. Ghost of Tsushima delivers in all fronts. Meaningful side quests, stealth combat, and the wind as a guide, so too as to use minimal visual disturbances on your screen. Will we ever get a Ghost of Tsushima Part 2? That I don't know, but the first one is well worth a playthrough and even a platinum run. Number 25, South Park, The Stick of Truth, and Fracture Butthole, a combo. That again, one can replace the other, and no one would be the worse for it. These are the most hilarious games I have ever played, but obviously not for the easily offended or faint of heart. South Park pulls no punches. It criticizes, satirizes, and in many instances truly tests the boundaries of humor in storytelling and gameplay. I personally had a blast both playing and streaming these games. I could never think anyone would ever be this daring, especially in today's world. Nor would I have ever guessed that anyone would be able to blend satisfactory gameplay that is as ingenious as it is fun, but that also fits perfectly with the story being told, the characters and themes presented in the game. It's been too long, and finally a new entry in the franchise has been announced. Easily a day one pickup for me, but for now, as far as my favorite games are concerned, South Park The Stick of Truth and The Fracture Butthole both deserve an easy entry in my list, with major kudos for a great daring sense of humor and for delivering a well thought out critique of modern times, even if through crude and in some cases a low humor facade, but best of all with fun and creative characters, powers, and gameplay. Okay, now let's do a 180 here for number 24, Salt and Sanctuary. Another case of an indie gem aiming way higher than it had any right to do. Being developed by only 2 people, this 2D side-scroller Metroidvania inspired in the Souls game became an indie darling and had many gamers declaring their love for it. I remember well when it came out and critics and friends proclaiming this title to be better than many other beloved games of that time. I beat Salt and Sanctuary on the PlayStation 4, went for the Platinum Trophy as I wanted to extract everything I could from this game, and it became one of the few titles I was fortunate enough to be there early when it came out and to acquire a copy for my Switch. So when the time is right, I'll get to run through the world of Salt and Sanctuary again, hunting bosses and play around with different builds. A 2D Souls-inspired Metroidvania that so far is yet to be surpassed by a competitor. From indie to major AAA, at number 23, God of War 3. My favorite by far in the franchise. I couldn't believe how good this game was as I was playing it. From the scope and ambition of the world and story it was telling, to the characters, minigames, combat, and of course, boss fights presented to us. Yeah, I'll admit to it, shagging the goddess of love may have been juvenile and immature, but for younger me, it was exhilarating and fun in a video game. Then came the Herculean fight, literally speaking, and calling it a dopamine hit is an understatement. More like the dopamine fireworks while beating the crap out of Hercules cemented God of War 3 as my favorite and an unforgettable action-packed third-person hack-and-slash AAA game that I would not mind playing through again in one of those lazy Sony remakes and remasters. Anyone who thinks only new current Kratos has a story to tell and a personality all of a sudden just because he got soft needs to dive back into the older games and live or relive the glory of the old days in which God of War 3 reigned supreme. besting gods and falling titans to our entertainment. Moving on to something a little more subdued, yet still masterful. In number 22, Stellar Glow. Image Puck's swan song that took handheld tactical JRPG enthusiasts by storm. There's no weeb who hasn't sung the praises to this game, and I, my friends, I'm no different. From auto, tuning the witches, which brought variety and freshness to gameplay, together with beautiful songs capable of turning the title battle in precise, colorful, fun, tactical turn-based combat. To cool characters, powers, weapons, and several endings to choose from, Stellar Glow delivered what the genre has best to offer. I went for the true ending, fighting the real final boss, and uncovering all the story nuggets and best scenarios available in the game. I remember not being satisfied in being done, and replaying the game back to back 3 different times with over 90 hours of total gameplay. Unfortunately, the developers went belly up, and unless we get a Switch port or a miracle occurs, Stellar Glow will have seen its glory days and continue being one of the best reasons to still own and play the 3DS. So the last entry for today is here because of the franchise as well. Single game for single game, Stellar Glow would have taken this spot, but since every game in my number 21 entry is pretty amazing, Fire Emblem as a series, and I always look forward to more Fire Emblem games to play, I think it deserves a spot higher. They aren't all the best, but they are all a grand old time to play. My favorites between Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS and Three Houses on the Switch. All others are still extremely fun to play, and there are many I am yet to play, even if they sit patiently waiting their turn on my shelves. I'm looking at you, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, and Shadow Dragon. Let's be honest, we're all waiting for a Switch port of all those games, and hopefully in due time, we will get them. Back to what's important though. Not all Fire Emblem games are the best we get to play. Normally they'll have weaker stories or obnoxious characters, but there's no denying the tactical combat and gameplay, which is obviously the most important aspect of video games to me. So yeah, even with silly plot lines and bare bones stories, I still enjoy every single Fire Emblem game I play. And as stated before, thankfully we're still getting a bunch of them in a regular basis. And I don't get tired. In fact, I'm looking forward to the next entry, whether it may be a new game, a remake, or a remaster. With that, we close yet another entry on my top 50 favorite games of all time. Coming up will be the top 20, and would I dare say the creme de la creme, the supra-sumo of video games? That we shall see. Let me know what you guys think on the comment section below. Which games have you played and have you enjoyed them? Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll catch you guys next time.